she stepped up as my wife and handled that. And there's been many times where I've been at my lowest, and she's always been the strongest to get me back up to like, get back out there. You gotta get back out there and do what you do. Don't worry about what's happening over here. I'm gonna handle that.
After 27 years together, what no one ever imagined is actually happening. Shantae Broaddus went from Snoop Dogg's wife, manager, and the quiet genius behind his massive empire is walking away, and the timing couldn't be more shocking. Just as his name starts buzzing again in connection to that long-dormant 1996 Las Vegas tragedy involving Tupac Shakur.
Snoop Dogg has never been faithful to Shantae, ever.
Shantae's filing for divorce has the entire industry talking. Insiders are saying this move isn't random, it's strategic. They claim Shantae's not just ending a marriage, she's cutting her final tie before things explode. Remember, this isn't just Snoop's wife we're talking about. In June 2021, she officially became his brand manager, running everything.
And good thing he didn't, because even though we was friends, but if pays you, I got a bullet into my skull, and one of the best friends I ever had in life is Pac.
From multi-million-dollar liquor and TV deals to gaming ventures and the booming legalized industry. For over 2 decades, she was the one signing papers and making calls that turned K1lling Broaddus into a business powerhouse. But now, as rumors of potential warrants and money investigations circle his name again, word is Shantae's quietly getting those divorce documents ready. People close to her say it's pure self-protection, a move to save herself before the empire starts to crumble. And it doesn't stop there. Old cases and scandals are suddenly crawling back into the spotlight, like their 2013 federal lawsuit where Snoop and a close associate were accused of coercive behavior after a show. The case got settled privately, but the whispers never really disappeared. Back in 2004, Shantae actually did file for divorce once before. The same one Snoop later blamed on fame and ego before they made up and got back together, but the cracks were already showing even then. Over the years, the cheating rumors never stopped, from viral claims by internet personality Selena Powell in 2019 to whispers about secret relationships going all the way back to the late 90s. In public, Snoop brushed it off like it was nothing, even joking that he once turned down a big money offer to appear on a certain subscription site because, in his own words, ain't no way my wife would let me. But behind the scenes, people close to them say the line exposed the truth. Shantae wasn't just his partner, she was the boss when it came to his image and brand control. Now insiders are calling this divorce a preemptive escape. They believe Shantae's making her move before something much bigger comes out. The real shift happened right after Suge Knight, speaking from prison on his show Collect Call, dropped a bombshell, and he said Snoop has explaining to do about what really went down the night Tupac Shakur was ambushed in Las Vegas. The comment was vague, but it hit like a shockwave. Within days, threads and forums across the hip-hop world lit up.
The turmoil and the stuff that I put her through in my journey on becoming successful, because I had no understanding of what I was doing her, how I was hurting her.
Connecting old contracts, names, and possible motives. For years, the focus was all on Diddy, but Suge's new remarks flipped everything and throwing the spotlight right back on the man who once stood next to Tupac on stage, then suddenly distanced himself just days before the tragedy. The timing of everything is way too perfect to ignore. Reports about Shantae quietly consulting with family attorneys started leaking in late summer. The exact same time Suge Knight's prison comments went viral. By September, even legal experts were revisiting old court transcripts from the 90s, reminding everyone that Snoop's earlier trial ended in an acquittal only after a violent clash involving his own security team. To industry veterans, it's starting to look like history is circling back, and at the worst possible time. What makes Shantae's silence hit so hard is that she's never been one for fame or headlines. She's always been the one behind the empire, the backbone who built the Snoop Dogg brand from scratch. When Snoop once said she was his final gut check, he meant it. She ran everything. Endorsement deals, tour logistics, brand licenses, all of it. She even managed the Broaddus collection, their family scarf line that was inspired by the daughter's health struggles. Every deal that carried the Dogg name passed through her hands first. But now whispers are spreading that federal investigators might start following the money trail tied to Death Row's rebranded assets. And if these accounts connect to anything related to the Shakur case, Shantae could find herself tangled covered up in something she had nothing to do with. That's why people close
The few like if we really dig, I believe we're gonna find probably 3 or 4 dudes over the years that she had long-term side piece
to her say stepping away now could be her smartest move yet, a way to protect her name, her business, and her peace. It's wild to think this all began as a teenage love story. 2 kids from Long Beach Polytechnic High School who danced together at prom and later tied the knot at the Ritz-Carlton in Marina Del Rey back in June 1997. Back in 2008, Snoop tried to remind the world what love looked like when he surprised Shantae with a full vow renewal at Charlie Wilson's ranch. 200 guests, family, friends, and cameras everywhere. On paper, it looked like the ultimate hip-hop love story. The loyal wife who held it down through the chaos of fame.
Yeah, the nigga on some other shit, like, nigga, let me dress you, nigga, get you right. Soup by Deion Scott. I'm on some other shit with my nigga, like, okay.
Raising 3 kids while her husband built the empire, but behind those perfect photos, the cracks were already forming. Even Snoop himself once admitted it. In early 2007, he said success had gone to his head and confessed that he was ready to throw away everything he had at home before realizing what was truly irreplaceable. But now, those same words hit differently, especially with new reports claiming Shantae has privately told close friends she's done protecting his mess. It's a story we've seen too many times, loyalty getting traded for embarrassment. For years, Shantae stood firm through every scandal, every rumor, every courtroom headline. She even stepped up as his official manager when the industry praised her as the definition of perseverance. But every strong woman eventually reaches her breaking point, and it looks like she finally has. Insiders describe her recent vibe as cold and focused, not emotional, just business. Word is she's already moved out of the main Los Angeles home, leaving Snoop surrounded by publicists and handlers scrambling to control what one associate bluntly called a crisis of credibility. And just when things couldn't get messier, the drama deepened. Former Outlaws member Napoleon has reignited an old buried narrative claiming Snoop was secretly jealous of Tupac's rise during the death row era. He even says tension between them blew up just weeks before the shooting. In interviews, Napoleon insists that Snoop's decision to show public love for bad boy artists while Tupac and Suge were going to war with them was seen inside the label as pure betrayal. According to people close to the situation, Suge Knight's latest podcast comments weren't random at all. They came straight from those old death row tensions, hinting that what once looked like simple rivalry might have been something way deeper. And now investigators revisiting the Tupac Shakur case.
And as soon as I walked out of there, I went in the bathroom and I threw up. Just laid on the floor for like 30 minutes. His mama came in there and cleaned me up.
Paying attention again, Snoop's position has always raised eyebrows, tied to both sides of the fence, with death row on one end and close relationships with major New York producers on the other. That kind of dual loyalty never sat right with people. And now new claims of unresolved conflicts are shifting the spotlight back toward him. Online sleuths are already spinning theories, saying Shantae's sudden decision to pull away isn't just emotional, it's strategic. Some believe she knows way more than she's letting on. Her reps haven't said a word, but entertainment lawyers are quietly suggesting that her withdrawal could be a legal move, a way to protect her money and reputation before anything official drops. It's wild to think this all comes less than a year after the couple publicly celebrated their 27th anniversary in June 2024. That same month, Snoop posted throwback photos calling her the good to me bad. Now fast forward to today, she's reportedly hired a full-on crisis PR team. The empire they spent decades building, the TV shows, the family brands, the clean-cut image, or all of it seems to be cracking under the pressure of rumors that go way beyond simple cheating talk. And people who've worked with Snoop for years are saying they feel a shift. The once chill, joke-loving icon now walks into rooms with tension in his eyes and weight on his shoulders. Sources say Snoop's been completely shut off lately.
When you get to be the age that we at and you get to become as successful as we are, you have to start doing some things that matter for the future.
Ever since those new allegations started making headlines, he's refused to directly address Suge Knight's claims, brushing them off publicly as nothing more than noise. But behind closed doors, insiders say he's not calm at all. He's frustrated, anxious, and knows the timing couldn't be worse. Right now, his entire image depends on stability, from his national TV appearances to his streaming ventures and that major stake in the revived Death Row Records brand. Any suggestion that he's been hiding information about Tupac's final night could shatter every everything he's built over the last 3 decades. His whole empire stands on reputation, and this scandal threatens to shake their foundation, even within Hollywood and the hip-hop world. The whispers are getting louder by the day. People haven't forgotten that Snoop was one of the last people to see Tupac alive, visiting him at the hospital, only to faint after seeing how bad things were. Others still remember that tense flight from New York when Tupac allegedly confronted him for publicly showing love to his rivals. Now, Suge's line, and he has explaining to do. It doesn't sound like some random comment anymore. For those who lived through that death row era, it feels like a direct hit. A coded accusation that could blow the doors wide open again. And here's where it gets chilling. Just days after the podcast episode dropped, word started spreading fast about Shantae preparing for divorce. The timeline's way too clean to ignore. Shantae stepping back, lawyers making moves, old lawsuits crawling out of the archives, and Suge Knight dropping cryptic hints about unfinished business. These aren't random coincidences, and they're pieces of a puzzle forming a picture way bigger than just a marriage falling apart. And as all these timelines start lining up, one haunting question begins to surface. Is Shantae Broaddus leaving the man she built up from nothing, or finally escaping the man she now sees for who he really is? If the whispers hold any truth, this divorce isn't about love anymore. It's about survival. Everything about the timing feels too precise to ignore, because right when Snoop seemed to rewrite his story, proudly taking ownership of Death Row Records in 2022, the same label that made him a star has now turned into his biggest curse. That moment, meant to be a victory lap, has suddenly turned into the reason his name is being tied to words like investigation and reopening. The empire he once celebrated as a comeback is now being picked apart by online detectives and legal analysts digging for connections no one expected to find. When Snoop announced the purchase, he called it a full circle moment, even giving props to Suge Knight, calling him a real one, and saying that forgiveness was part of his growth. But now, those words sound completely different, because as Suge starts throwing shots from behind bars, every compliment, every forgiveness speech looks less like peace and more like a chilling bit of foreshadowing. Even people who once stood up for Snoop are starting to look back at those old stories with new eyes.
That boy life is dangerous. His life is he just not dangerous with the they said he was doing, but he's in danger. He know too much.
Former Outlaws member Napoleon recently came out saying Snoop was jealous of Tupac's rise, that when Pac joined Death Row and started dominating the spotlight, Snoop couldn't handle it. At first, it sounded like another recycled grudge from the past, the kind of talk that always floats around labels with deep history. But this time, it feels different. That's because Suge Knight's tone on his Collect Call podcast wasn't playful. It was sharp when he said Snoop has explaining to do about what really went down in 1996. It didn't sound like gossip or speculation. It sounded like a warning, and anyone familiar with Suge's history knows he never says something like that unless he's trying to send a message loud and clear. Meanwhile, things around Snoop's home life have gone completely quiet. The silence is so loud, it's making people nervous. Shantae Broaddus, the same woman who once ran every major deal under Boss Lady Entertainment, has suddenly vanished from all his public appearances. Not long ago, they were inseparable. The walking red carpets, launching brands, showing up at TV events side by side. They were even smiling together at the Gladiator 2 premiere in Lay just last year, and still giving off the image of an unshakable power couple. But now, she's nowhere to be seen. Her absence from recent industry functions hasn't gone unnoticed either. PR insiders say her name quietly disappeared from team emails and project schedules. For a couple once seen as unstoppable, that silence says everything.
You're gonna establish yourself as a businessman. That I wasn't taught on Death Row Records. All my cars was in Suge Knight name.
Sources close to the Broaddus family are whispering that Shantae's already moving fast and smart. She's reportedly meeting with top financial advisors, cutting legal ties, and revising management paperwork to protect herself, making sure if investigators start snooping around old Death Row Records accounts or even his new streaming profits, none of their trail leads back to her. One insider compared her moves to a chess play, learned from the wives who stayed too long after seeing how quickly empires can crumble, like what happened with Diddy, whose arrest and conviction flipped the entire industry upside down. Shantae seems determined not to be the next woman standing beside her husband as his world falls apart. The message she's sending is clear. She's not going down with the ship. The comparisons are hard to ignore. Diddy's empire collapsed overnight. His family dragged into public chaos. His legacy shattered. Everyone saw how fast decades of power can disappear once law enforcement gets involved. So now when Suge Knight starts naming Snoop Dogg directly on air and reports claim federal agents are quietly re-examining pieces of that 1996 Las Las Vegas case. The question everyone's asking becomes impossible to avoid. Is this chapter about to reopen? No one's confirming anything yet, but multiple legal insiders in the entertainment world are saying the same thing. Only with Death Row back in business and fully active, every old contract tied to the label automatically falls under renewed compliance review. That means even the faintest whisper of a past criminal link.
Well, they can't drop him like it's hot. Snoop Dogg is speaking out about LGBTQ content in kids' movies.
No matter how old, it's getting another hard look. And Shantae, she's making sure she's 10 steps ahead before anyone comes knocking. We're now hearing that Snoop's new ownership of Death Row Records might have accidentally opened old wounds that were better left buried. By relaunching the label and bringing this legendary catalog back to life, he's reportedly reignited long-buried financial battles over royalties and creative control from the 90s. As several producers who worked under the original Death Row banner are now being contacted by lawyers, and a few of them have already hinted online that they've been asked to give statements. No one's publicly naming which agency is behind it yet, but the timing couldn't be more suspicious. It all lines up perfectly with Suge Knight's explosive podcast episodes and the sudden surge in public curiosity about what really happened after Tupac's final show. The pattern feels way too tight to call coincidence. Inside the industry, reactions are completely split. The younger generation, the artists who grew up seeing Snoop as hip-hop's laid-back uncle and where you're in shock. But the older head, they're not surprised at all. They remember exactly how wild the original Death Row era was. The drama, the money fights, the shifting loyalties between Suge, Dre, Snoop, and Tupac, and how fast friendship could flip into full-blown war. To them, this all feels like deja vu. Only this time, the stakes are even higher, because now Snoop isn't just a rapper. He's a global brand. His TV shows, streaming ventures, and product lines all depend on that clean, reformed icon image. And if any credible tie to that violent 90s chaos gets proven till we win a move, their entire empire could collapse overnight. As for Shantae, people close to her say she's calm but completely distant.
It's not that I want to become Snoop Dogg on a reggae track. I want to bury Snoop Dogg and become Snoop Lion.
Like someone who already made peace with her decision. Word is, she's now putting her focus into her upcoming memoir titled Paid the Cost to Be the Boss Lady, a name that certainly feels like a statement all by itself, but the team won't confirm if divorce papers are officially in motion yet, but several legal insiders insist it's just a matter of when, not if. They say if Snoop's situation turns volatile, she'll be ready financially, legally, and publicly to walk away without leaving a trace. It's the same quiet, calculated playbook used by the partners of other fallen moguls who saw the downfall coming long before the world did. But in Shantae's case, it's even deeper. She's not just walking away, she knows everything. For more than 20 years, Shantae wasn't just a wife, she was the architect behind Snoop Dogg's business empire. She managed accounts, signed deals, approved payments, and handled publishing rights that funneled millions through a web of companies under their control. When Snoop expanded into spirits, streaming, and merchandise, her name appeared in the filings, quietly listed as the executive of record. Every move went through her hands first. That's what makes this so dangerous. If investigators start tracing any money linked to the old Death Row network, Shantae's detailed knowledge of every transaction could instantly turn her into the most valuable and most vulnerable person in the room. She has access to decades worth of emails, contracts, and ledgers dating back to the 90s, including those that bridge Snoop's Death Row days to his modern ventures. Legally, that positions her as a potential insider witness. And everyone close to the couple knows just how risky that really is. She's the kind of figure who could confirm timelines or expose whether certain business fronts were used to cover personal debts or hidden partnerships, the type of information that can flip an entire investigation upside down. We've seen how these stories play out before in the music world, where the same spouse who once signed the checks ends up becoming the key witness that helps prosecutors piece everything together. Shantae's files could mean solid proof, and for Snoop, they could mean total collapse. So it's no shock the insiders say she's already making major moves behind the scenes. According to reports, Shantae's been transferring her digital archives and corporate logins to private counsel, locking everything down tight. She's even said to be working with forensic accountants, combing through years of financial activity tied to Boss Lady Entertainment and the broader Broadest family business network. Whether she's doing it to shield herself or to quietly prepare for testimony, no one really knows, but her silence speaks volumes. She's not posting, not giving interviews, not feeding avoiding the media at all. Instead, she's staying quiet, strategic, and fully focused. The posture of someone who knows the storm's coming and plans to survive it. At this point, her silence isn't weakness, it's warning. And because in the story they're starting to blur the line between tabloid scandal and federal investigation, the quietest person in the room might just be holding the loudest truth of all. We can't ignore the bigger picture unfolding right now. With Diddy's conviction, Suge Knight's accusations, and renewed attention on the old death row circle, it feels like the entire hip-hop elite is facing a reckoning unlike anything we've seen since the early 2000s. Everyone thought the Tupac Shakur story was sealed and buried forever. But now, it's clawing its way back into the spotlight, and the names involved are too powerful to overlook. And if even a piece of what Suge Knight's saying turns out to be true, and if Shantae Broaddus really is preparing her final exit, then Snoop Dogg could be standing on the edge of the same collapse that's already taken down his peers. And if that's the case, her divorce won't just mark the end of a marriage. It'll be the first visible crack in the empire that's starting to crumble from within. So what do you think? Is this the final unraveling of the Dogfather's carefully built legacy? Or just another storm he'll somehow smooth talk his way through? Because one thing's for sure, this story is far from over. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know what you believe. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the wild world of hip-hop and Hollywood. I'll catch you in the next video. And remember, the truth in this industry always shows up after the headlines.